The Galactic Coalition station orbited the neutral moon of Terminus 7, a gleaming structure of chrome and crystalline towers where 100 species conducted their diplomatic affairs. In the lower decks, far from the ornate conference halls and dignitary suites, lived the station's unsung workers, janitors, technicians, and mechanics who kept the massive structure functioning. Among them was Alex Chen, a human mechanic who had worked in Bay 47 for nearly 15 years. He was unremarkable in appearance, average height, dark hair graying at the temples, calloused hands perpetually stained with grease and coolant. The other workers knew him as a quiet man who arrived early, stayed late, and fixed ships with an efficiency that bordered on uncanny. Alex never spoke about his past. When the Krillian engineers asked where he'd learned such advanced propulsion theory, he shrugged and said he'd picked it up along the way. When the Venturi pilots praised his ability to diagnose problems before their sensor arrays detected them, he simply nodded and returned to work. He lived alone in a cramped quarters on Deck 92, ate his meals in silence at the communal cafeteria, and declined every invitation to social gatherings. The other mechanics respected his boundaries. In a station filled with thousands of beings from across the galaxy, everyone had their reasons for being there, and nobody pressed too hard for answers. Kate Winters was different. The newly appointed human diplomat arrived on the station with credentials that opened every door and a curiosity that recognized no boundaries. Young, brilliant, and energetic, she had been assigned to mediate a territorial dispute between the Andraxian Collective and the Toll Empire. But Kate had always believed that understanding a place meant understanding all of it, not just the political theater of the upper decks. During her second week, while exploring the industrial sectors, she noticed something unusual. Every ship that passed through Bay 47 left in perfect condition, often performing better than factory specifications. The bay's efficiency ratings were 40% higher than any other maintenance section, yet the human mechanic who ran it remained entirely absent from station records before his employment began 15 years ago. Kate's investigative instincts tingled. She began visiting Bay 47, at first under the pretense of having her personal shuttle serviced. Alex worked on her ship with the same methodical precision he applied to everything else, barely acknowledging her attempts at conversation. But Kate was persistent. She started bringing coffee during his breaks, asking technical questions that gradually shifted toward personal ones. "You're wasting your time," Ambassador Alex finally said one evening, not looking up from the plasma torch in his hands. "I fix ships. That's all there is to know. Everyone has a story." Kate replied softly. Not everyone wants to tell it. She might have given up if not for the memorial. Kate discovered it by accident while searching for documentation on the station's original construction. Buried in the historical archives was a dedication ceremony from 30 years prior, before the Coalition station existed, when this facility had been a human military outpost during the Krenth War. The memorial wall listed names, hundreds of them. Human soldiers who had died defending this sector against the Krenth invasion fleets that had threatened to sweep through colonized space. And there, preserved behind reinforced crystal in a forgotten corridor on Deck 95, hung a piece of powered armor. The nameplate read, Lieutenant Commander Alexander Chen, 3rd Mechanized Infantry Division, Hero of the Terminus Defense. Kate stood before that armor for nearly an hour, her mind racing. The breastplate bore scorch marks from plasma fire. The left arm had been completely sheared off. The helmet's visor was cracked, frozen in a permanent expression of determination. The citation beneath explained what Alex had never told anyone, how he and his division had held Bay 47 for 72 hours against impossible odds, buying time for civilian transports to evacuate. How Lieutenant Commander Chen had personally repaired and rearmed damaged fighters, sending pilots back into battle even as enemy fire tore through the hangar. How he'd been the last soldier standing when reinforcements finally arrived, found unconscious beside his armor, having refused evacuation while a single ship needed repair. The war had ended shortly after. The Krenth had withdrawn. Humanity's military presence in the sector had dissolved as the Galactic Coalition formed, transforming military outposts into diplomatic stations. And somewhere in that transition, a decorated war hero had become a nameless mechanic. Kate returned to Bay 47 the next morning. Alex was already working, replacing the cooling system on a Venturi courier ship. She didn't mention the memorial immediately. Instead, she picked up a diagnostic scanner and helped him work, following his terse instructions with surprising competence. They worked in silence for 2 hours before Kate finally spoke. "I saw your armor." Alex, on deck 95, his hands stilled on the manifold he was adjusting. For a long moment, he didn't respond. Then, quietly, "I wondered if anyone would find it." "Why hide?" Kate asked. "You're a hero. The coalition would make me into a symbol." Alex interrupted, his voice rough. "Another relic from the old wars, dragged out for ceremonies and recruiting messages. I didn't want that. So you chose this. Anonymity." Alex set down his tools and looked at her directly for the first time since she'd arrived. His eyes carried depths of exhaustion that 15 years hadn't erased. "I chose to keep doing what I'm good at," he said. "Ships still need fixing. People still need to get where they're going safely. The war is over, Ambassador. I don't need medals for doing my job now, any more than I needed them then." Kate understood then. Alex hadn't been hiding from recognition. He'd been seeking purpose beyond glory. In this quiet bay, fixing ships for beings from across the galaxy, he'd found a peace that medals and ceremonies could never provide. "Will you ask me to keep it quiet?" she asked. Alex considered this, then shook his head. "Do what you think is right. But I'm not leaving Bay 47, regardless of what happens." Kate smiled. "Good, because I heard the Andraxian delegate's personal cruiser is making a terrible rattling sound, and I told them I knew the best mechanic in the sector." Despite himself, Alex's lips quirked into the ghost of a smile. "Send them down." "I'll take a look." As Kate left the bay, she glanced back once. Alex had already returned to work, his scarred hands moving with the same quiet precision that had once saved thousands of lives and now kept the galaxy running. One repaired ship at a time, she decided the memorial could keep its secret. Some heroes, she realized, were exactly where they needed to be.